he was trying to arrange transportation for her to go home. And so I said, well, let me see what I can do. So I talked to all my drivers, and the price he was offering, what the church was going to help pay for it, was really not even half of what we normally charge for that trip. Let's just leave it at that. So I called him back and I kind of told him that, and he seemed very disappointed. But he says, okay. I said, well, yeah, tell me a bit more about this as well. She's terminally ill. She's trying to get back. She says, I didn't know she was ill at that point. I just knew she was trying to get back home. And she says she wants to see the mountains one more time before she dies. So I decided to take the trip myself. I said, okay, well, when will we do this? And I got a date that she was I would pick her up at a facility. I actually had picked the daughter up, and then I'd go to the facility and pick her up in Georgia. It wasn't actually even in Tallahassee. So I drive over there and load up all the stuff that the daughter had at her motel. And then I go over to the facility with the daughter, and we get her mom. And I'm real funny about seatbelts. You got to wear a seatbelt. Well, the woman was she couldn't even sit up. How do you put her in a seatbelt, So we got her comfortable in the back seat as best we could. But she was very chatty. I mean, she was very weak. The daughter was actually helping her walk with the wheelchair, but then I realized the daughter wasn't. The daughter is older as well. I mean, this is a very older woman. I'm trying to be very careful not to say too much. I don't want to identify anybody, but so the daughter was having trouble moving mom, so I helped a little bit more than I normally would. I don't really like to touch people when I'm helping them, but so I helped her get in the car, and we got all their stuff loaded up. We started driving, and at first it was the daughter and I talking. But then I started, the daughter got tired, started nodding off, and so I started talking more to the older woman, and she started telling me what it was like to grow up and during the Depression in Tennessee and not have shoes and, dirt floors and, just fascinating conversation with this older woman. She was very weak. She'd stop and, I'm sorry. I was like, no, take your time. So the entire way up to Tennessee, she's telling me about what it was like, and she was pretty weak, but she did want to talk. She was telling me about her life, a lot of stories about things that had happened. And we stopped. She wanted to eat at a Waffle House for some reason, but she wanted to go to, I think that she said it was one of the restaurants that she could afford. There was a Waffle House near this little town that she lived in Tennessee, and they drive over there, and her and her husband, before he passed away, and they go to the Waffle House. So we got to the Waffle House, and I think I pretty much carried her into there, and we sat down, we had waffles, and then we got back in the car. So, but she kept thanking me for taking her home, and she said, I just wanted to get home. So we drove we drove all the way through. I did pull over for breaks and get coffee and gas. But we got up there, and I'll never forget the name of the motel, but it was like this little tiny motel on the side of the road. And like I said, I normally don't go into people's houses and stuff, but by this point I felt fairly comfortable with them. And I said I'd help bring stuff in. So they have quite a bit of stuff because they're leaving Georgia to go up to Tennessee, and they were taking basically everything that she had. So I started unloading the van, and the daughter walks over, and I helped the lady lay down on one of the beds, but she wanted to move the other bed closer to the window, and the daughter opens the window, and there's this beautiful view of this valley down in Tennessee, and it was actually gorgeous. We'd driven all night. The sun was just kind of came up, and you could see the sunrise over this valley. Knoxville, Tennessee, by the way, is a really far trip from Tallahassee. I was pretty tired, but I was like, wow, what a beautiful view. And I'm thinking, and the woman helped move the bed over, and so then we moved her over by the window and helped load our stuff into the house. And, the pastor had already helped pay me, so I just gave him a hug and I left. It was a long trip, but the whole way back, I'm thinking about, I heard this whole woman's life story all the way from a little girl growing up in a house that, literally, grew they put a floor in, because otherwise it was a dirt floor. And growing up with no shoes, growing up during the Depression, watching people she knew go off to war. And I pulled over. I never stopped at a hotel, but on the way back, I pulled over to a couple of rest stops. I remember I was tired, and I got home, and I was just worn out from that trip. But I remember I went back to work like 2 days later, and the phone rang, and I was actually there, and the dispatch manager hands me the phone and says, "It's for you." And I said, "I'll take it to my office." And she'd passed away that night. That was her daughter. But, I'm so glad we took her. So, but she wanted to see her mountains one more time before she died. And she did. And that's why I drive a taxi.